Hello, hello, and good morning, everybody. I am Manila Chan. That is Ted Rall over there. You are tuned in to the Ted Manila Information Show, hence TM Information. TMI for short, where we bring you way too much information. Of course, if you're brand new to the show, this show goes everywhere. We do go there. Whatever it is, whatever there is to you, we go there. Okay? Just bear that in mind. And we do curse. So just saying. We are live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. So please be sure to like and follow this show wherever you are consuming this too much information. Especially if you're on the Rumbles or the YouTubes, please hit that follow or the subscribe button and the thumbs up. It really does go a long way in helping the algorithms recognize who we are, and it'll help spread the word. And you guys can be a part of that, helping this little show grow. So today we're going to try a little different of a
and
format.
don't forget, before we are now, you can now subscribe and support us on YouTube. You've been able to do that on Rumble. The way to do it is you go down while we're live. You go down to the bottom where you see the chat. And you go down as if you were going to make a comment in the chat, but there's a subscribe button next to that, and that's where it is. It's about as easy as finding that special spot on the Death Star that makes it blow up. So, which is to say, it's not easy, but that's where it is. And then on YouTube, it's a lot more straightforward. You just subscribe.
Yes, Ted, I really thought you were going to go there in the first 2 minutes and be like, finding that special spot on the ladies,
on your spouse or whatever. No,
yeah,
well, there could be several spots. You never know.
That's true. There's a Friends episode about that where Monica is trying to teach, I think, Chandler or Joey, I forget which one, but Monica's trying to teach one of the boys about the ladies' 7. I think she has 7 spots, maybe 8. I forget.
Wow.
Yeah.
So by the way, and famously, there used to be a deli. I believe it was on West 79th Street in Manhattan, just a deli, and it was originally just called the Spot Deli, and then they changed it to the G Spot Deli, inexplicably. Not like it wasn't like the Garden Spot or like it wasn't by a station for the G train. It was just like it was gratuitous, and there were complaints from the neighborhood. So then it was G with just the G Deli with the spot written inside the G.
Huh. I don't know if I'd want to eat there. I'm not sure. Did they specialize in pastrami or I went there.
Or tuna.
Oh boy. See, for a fat or a takeout for a deli, that's not. Come on.
It was either on 79th or 86th. I can't remember which it was, but yeah. And it was either on Columbus or Amsterdam. New Yorkers can verify this.
That would only make sense if you ran a business in a city that had like streets named after alphabets, like downtown Washington, D.C.
Right.
There is a G Street.
There's a G Street, yeah.
There is a G Street. And, if you were a deli there, okay, that would make sense, the G spot, because you're on G Street. But this one randomly, I don't think they had a PR team look that over, Ted. Just saying.
No. Well, I mean, it's just, yeah.
So
it was on 78th Street. I'm looking it up right now. It is gone. But
yeah, because it has a terrible name, terrible marketing. I would not eat there.
No, the 79th Street. Sorry. Oh no, I mean it was successful. I'm sure when in New York, when businesses go under, it rarely has anything to do with the lack of quality of the place. It usually has to do with landlords trying to jack up the rent like 6 times when the lease comes up for renewal.
Is that
almost always? I mean, there are some dumb businesses. I mean, look, even my local cannabis store went under, and obviously, it's not like no one wants cannabis.
Nobody wants weed in this neighborhood. We got to close up shop.
Yeah. Manhattan is like not into weed at all.
Yeah.
We're very uptight that way.
Not at all. All right. So today We're gonna try to experiment with a new format where we're
I'm
just
excited
gonna
about
because
this.
we don't have a guest, so we're gonna do all of our hot topics as the whole show.
Yeah, so we're gonna, instead of what we usually do, the format of the show is we usually have our main headlines, and then we have at the bottom of the half hour we start in with our main topic, and with or without a guest. This time we're flipping it. This was all Manila's idea, and she's brilliant. So thank you for coming up with this.
Right.
So we're going to do the main
news.
We're going to do the main topic straight up on top, and then we're going to get into the what we would call our other topics. Let's just say
lesser important. Still hot.
So if you're interested in the main topic, we're getting to it right away. No dicking around.
So you guys let us know if that, I mean, I would love to have viewer feedback, comments on that, right? Like we're pretty open to suggestions. So if you guys think that suits your needs better, because for some people you got to go, right? Like you want to hear the juicy bits up front. Man, there's a lot of undertones here today. I got to stop that.
The juicy bits.
Jeez. Jeez. Okay. So let us know.
That used to be a special at the G-Spot Deli.
The juicy bits.
I'll get 2 juicy bits. And one under the rim.
Too much innuendo. With hot buns. Do you want the firm ones?
Hot toasty
the
buns.
Soft fluffy buns.
Mm-hmm.
There's, different tastes, man. Just saying.
Sure.
Different tastes.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm not even. Okay,
we can go there. We're still within the first.
It's so early. It's so early.
We can't go there. We cannot go there. We shouldn't go there.
No.
We need to strive more to be family friendly, Ted. In case, there are parents with kids.
Yeah,
listening.
Yeah, well, we are a very popular show among the family set. A lot of people take us to the playground and they blast us on. A lot of people are like, yo, put on TMI. It's like, what? TMI show's on. My God. Can you imagine
that,
having
ladies
that
and
level
gentlemen,
of popularity? There was a show.
That's how you,
Ted,
you're teaching all the kids. You're teaching all the kids the F-bomb at the playground, because that's how that's happening.
That would be my fault. So there was a show called Apostrophe, or in French, Apostrophe. And it might still be on. It was on for decades in France. And it was like so French. It was a bunch of philosophers, journalists, and other like notable intellectuals, and they sit around drinking wine and smoking, and talk about like the day in politics and culture. And you'd see like Simone de Beauvoir on it. I mean, it's like to talk. So anyway, it was so massive that I think it was on at 7:00 at night. But whenever it was on, the streets would empty. You wouldn't know, it'd be tumbleweeds blowing across the streets in Paris, and you'd see every window of every apartment, blinking purple at the same time in the same pattern. Everyone's at home watching Apostrophe. It's like Apostrophe is on. You go out to dinner after Apostrophe. You do not.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like the Super Bowl, the State of the Union. It's like the first presidential debate.
10 years
9/11, all combined.
10 years ago, that would have been my style of show, before I got married and had a kid and kind of straightened up. When I was just a degenerate journalist, single lady, right, traveling around the world, I'd be, having a bourbon or something, smoking a cigarette. That would be the kind of show I would have done.
It's a good
10
look.
10 years ago. Bright red lipstick, smoking a cigarette.
I will say, when I've been a moderator for panel discussions on a number of occasions, particularly with cartoonists, and one of the things I discovered is if you bring beer to the panel discussion and you give all the participants a couple of beers before the panel starts, the discussion's going to be a lot better.
Oh, social lubricants. I'm all for it, even though I don't really drink anymore. I mean, I might once or twice a year have like a glass of wine or something. I don't really drink anymore. I mean, wow, talk about 180, right? But that would have been like my dream job, to discuss politics with a round table with everybody having booze, smoking a cigarette.
People, we should do that. I mean, could you imagine like not you and I maybe, but someone should do that. It's like it is a format of a show that, I mean, could you imagine just like, even with the same usual suspects, like, Jake Tapper's going to be better with 3 drinks
maybe
in.
He'd lie. Maybe
is.
he'd lie less.
All of them. David Brooks would be better 3 drinks in.
Yeah, I agree. Can you imagine how maybe perhaps honest? Maybe Joy Reid should have done that, and her show would have been saved.
I feel really bad about Joy Reid.
I know you do, but
she's not because I don't feel bad because he got fired. That's not what I mean. I feel it's the selling out part that I feel bad about. I mean, you can never. Once they cut off your balls, there's nothing you can do. You can never come back from that.
You can never go back. Once you're castrated, that's it. And MSNBC successfully castrated all of those big hosts to get their multi-million-dollar contracts.
I know people who say if they came to me and offered me that kind of money, I would take it. And it's like, well, I really can't judge. I mean, I might be the same way. I can't judge,
but it comes at a price, and I don't know if these people even know it or they care. But anyway, so we'll try our new format. So let's hop into that. We've given everyone some ample time. And by the way, the algorithms, as far as I know, they don't send out notifications when we're on air right away. So the first few minutes, like I've heard from many people on Rumble, even family members of mine that want to tune in, they say they don't get the notification until we're like 15 minutes in. So I don't know what that is. I don't know why the delay, but just something to keep in mind. So, all right, let's hit the jaws and let's try it out. Our main topic.
But today, and we're getting straight into it, President Trump temporarily suspended the delivery of all U.S. military aid to Ukraine just days after Trump and Zelensky had that explosive confrontation at the White House. This order affects more than $1 billion in arms and ammunition in the pipeline and on order. It resulted from a series of meetings at the White House between Trump and senior national security officials, and the officials said that the directive would remain in effect until Trump determines that Ukraine has demonstrated a good faith commitment to peace with Russia. Trump's decision dramatically escalates the breach between Washington and Kyiv at a crucial time in the conflict. Of course, obviously, Russia is very happy about this. If the suspension is lengthy, Putin could use the time to press for further territorial gains. I don't think that's going to happen. And he could theoretically decide to hold back from any negotiations at all. Also, that's definitely not going to happen. Trump's move has few direct precedents in recent history. While the U.S. has paused the transfer of specific weapons programs to allies and partners, like when Biden temporarily suspended 2,000 bombs to Israel that were being used against civilians in Gaza, a full cutoff.
2,000 pound bombs.
Yeah, is that what I said? No. 2,000
pounds.
Pound. Oh, yeah, 2,000 pound bombs.
Moabs.
Yeah. Mob. A full cutoff is essentially an ultimatum. It forces Zelensky to agree to a ceasefire on Trump's terms, or they can go on and fight and lose even more. The suspension also puts the U.S. in direct opposition to NATO allies. The biggest European countries, France, Britain, and Germany, have said that they plan to send more aid to Ukraine, siding with Zelensky against Trump. But the truth is, they're talking shit because they don't really have the stuff to send. Yeah. Also happening today is the State of the Union address. That's tonight. Since taking office.
Not State of the Union.
Oh, it's not?
It's just an address to the joint Congress.
Oh, why? What is this about? Just because?
You forgot, Ted, because President Biden didn't do this. Traditionally, newly inaugurated presidents traditionally give kind of an outline, a roadmap to Congress about what they've already accomplished in their first month or so.
So when's State of the Union?
And what they're doing. Probably another month.
Okay, soon. So it's like, so this is a getting to know you kind of thing.
Well, they know Trump.
They know him. Yeah.
It's not that. So this is going to be like, look how much I've wrecked your shit in the past. Past 40 days that I've been in office.
For you, I'm going to fuck your cat and
here's what basically. Yeah. And here's how else I'm going to fuck with you the next 4 years, because I'm 40 days into office and I'm going to screw all of you. So
obviously Ukraine is going to come up probably, and he'll talk about his accomplishments like immigration, tariffs, cuts to government, the Doge stuff, and blah blah blah. All right, so let's get into Ukraine, right? So first of all, this is a complicated story. First, I mean, the weapons shipments go in several tranches, and so there's the issue of weapons that are currently in places like Poland on their way to Ukraine. These are weapons that have already been authorized by Congress. They've already been funded. Those get deep six right now. They stay where they are. They don't cross the border into Ukraine. Now, unknown is what happens to the contracts that Ukraine has signed with private defense companies, but that are being paid for by the United States. So technically, it's like they bought the stuff on Amazon, and it's theirs, and they should receive it. But Uncle Sam is paying Amazon. So does Uncle Sam call Amazon and say, "Don't send it because I'm not paying"? And does Amazon listen if Uncle Sam calls? So we don't know the answer to that. But what is sure is that no doubt a substantial amount of weapons to Ukraine will come to a halt immediately. And obviously the view here is to try to convince Zelensky that he needs to play ball and he needs to get serious. Because, I mean, basically at that presser on Friday, he acted like he was partying like it was February 2022 and everyone still loved him and that he could get anything that he wanted. And it's like Trump's like, no, there's a new sheriff in town. And I think Zelensky's strategy, and he fucked up in a number of ways, but I think the number one way that he fucked up was that his strategy has been to basically count on American public opinion. Like, he's always about the media and trying to get the media to be into him.
Well,
and the media loves him. But
both of them are into playing up for the cameras.
But so to whatever extent he could like play to the cameras and then the media could pressure Biden, that's not going to work on Donald Trump. Donald Trump has become president despite the media. He doesn't care what they think. In fact, the more they hate him, the happier he is. The more unhappy they are, the happier. If the media came out and said, fuck Zelensky, he would love Zelensky and immediately re-embrace him. That's probably the best thing the media could do, is start attacking Zelensky.
It's probably true.
If they want more aid to Ukraine. So this is like, I mean, Trump doesn't owe anything to anyone. He's a lame duck. He's on the way out. He's like doing whatever the hell he wants. He also knows he doesn't care about the midterms. Like, by the time the midterms roll around, everything that he's wanted to do will either be done or not done, but he knows nothing's happening after that. So, this is a man you can't really negotiate with. Trump talked about who holds the cards. Donald Trump right now holds a royal flush, ace high, and he's got a couple extras up his sleeve. He's got them all.
He hasn't even dealt the cards. He's got the full deck in his possession.
Yeah,
he's the house.
And all the chips. Yeah,
he's the house. He controls the deck. He controls all the chips. Nobody, not Congress, has one card, one chip to play. Certainly not this little dude. And I gotta admit, Ted, all the memes about they keep shrinking him on all the memes. They keep shrinking Zelensky to like the size of an infant, and it's hilarious. I don't know if you guys.
Well, I mean, I got to tell you, the Democrats have the opposite memes, where all my cartoonist colleagues, they have giant Zelensky and little Trump. It's all so dumb.
So crazy. Well, look, I'm happy as being staunchly anti-war. I don't like.
Can you believe it? That's controversial.
I know. I'm staunchly anti-war, no matter who's waging it, no matter who's taking part. I have always, my entire life, personal life, as well as my career, have always leaned on the side of peace. And I've never been one, like the Europeans right now, saying peace through strength. The U.S. has tried that bullshit for years. It doesn't work. We didn't try. It's it was a fake try. We say peace through strength. But that's just the guise for warmongering for people, because you don't want to come out like John Bolton and be outright like, let's go bomb those brown people, like John Bolton always says, right? He don't give a flying freak, right? Because John Bolton is John Bolton. But everybody else will be like, peace through strength. Translation, I agree with John Bolton. But I don't agree with any of that. I believe dialogue, cooperation, friendship. I mean, Ted, I sound like Xi Jinping right now because those are the things that Xi Jinping said.
Xi Jinping is not my favorite Chinese president, but in general, Chinese presidents tend to be pretty reasonable, and he's one of them.
Yeah, those are the talking points right now. Is right. Cooperation, friendship, and mutual benefits for everybody, right? Like it's a win-win, and I believe that's how you achieve peace. The Western view of the world being a zero-sum game is just so passé. It is so, Cold War, early 20th century.
It is Cold War.
It's just, it doesn't.
I mean, look, you can tell that again from my cartoonist colleagues who still draw Putin with hammers and sickles. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't a communist either.
Ted, there was a congressman the other day, a freshman Florida congressman. I forget his name. But he's a freshman congressman in Florida who tweeted and then quickly deleted his tweet because he was talking smack on Vladimir Putin, calling him a communist country, that Russia was a communist country.
I wish.
He said communist, not even Soviet. Wish. He said communist. That goes to show you, yes, you're an idiot. You're a congressman. Shouldn't you already know that?
No,
that is not one of the. Not one of the 5 communist countries on Earth, and most of them are in Asia.
No, they do not know anything.
They don't know anything, and this guy tweeted that as a freaking congressman. So he was trying to shade Vladimir Putin by saying that. He tried to delete it because, the internet forgets very easily. But look, this stop funding, this immediate stop funding. Remember in this Oval Office exchange on Friday that Donald Trump said, without our support, without our military aid and equipment and money, you guys wouldn't have lasted 2 weeks.
And you'll keep fighting, and you'll have to fight it out, and it won't be pretty.
And Zelensky said, 2 weeks, 3 days. That is what Vladimir Putin said too. And remember he said that?
Mm-hmm.
And Trump was like, are you saying, and the left media has jumped all over that to be like, look, he's speaking in Russian talking points.
We don't have left media. You mean the liberal media.
Liberal media. Mm-hmm. Apologies to the left. That's true. What few left viewers are out there, true lefties. Yeah, they are not. The media is not them. But the immediate stop on this is what Donald Trump said. Exactly. You're not going to be able to fight for another week.
So here's the question. So let's get into some of the granular stuff, right? Normally we would have a guest to talk about this, but we're our own guests and we know some of this stuff. All right. So obviously this can either be temporary, or it can be permanent, right? So right now weapons are on pause. Obviously the hope of the administration is Zelensky comes out of his hidey hole and says, okay, you got us. We're ready to talk. We'll get, we agree to a bunch of the stuff. We're ready to get reasonable. And so that may or may, so the question is, does that happen? Does that not happen? When does that happen? And then what does it look like if and when Ukraine, I think it will happen. I think Ukraine will get real. They know they can't go to like the Euros and get what they need. So they're going to come out and they're going to surrender and they're going to, to Trump. And they're going to, and then so the question then is, do weapons resume so that pending, the difference between a ceasefire and a final settlement, Ukraine can feel a full settlement that they can be, or an armistice that can be negotiated? Or do the weapons just stop? Because after all, there's a ceasefire. Why do you need more weapons? But ceasefire comes first. That's really pretty easy to negotiate.
I think this is a forced move for that, for sure, to force this little dude here to come to the table because he's been refusing to do that. I mean, just yesterday, he was feeling all brave, getting air in his lungs, feeling like he could walk in and tell Vladimir Putin, war is far away from ending, very far away. Like, with
war is very close to ending. Quite the opposite.
Right, the peace is far away, I think is what he said. Very far away. Peace is very far away. And it's like,
so. I think peace is very near.
The peace is nigh, because look,
peace is days away.
Because
we could have peace by this weekend.
I agree. I think so, Ted, because look, we've already seen, remember when he came here like the first or second time in the Nancy Pelosi and Biden era, where she's unfurling the flag on the floor of Congress, right?
Such an embarrassment.
I was so shocked. That was a shocking moment to me. We've never done that in the halls of Congress, ever unfurled the flag of another country on the dais.
It's not right.
That's so wrong. That was very, to me, offensive. And then this guy was saying we need more weapons, because remember, we saw frontline reporting where even 2 years ago, 1 year into this conflict, these guys were like fighting with potatoes and sticks. Remember, they didn't have drones. They were like throwing potatoes at the Russian soldiers, right? They didn't have enough arms or food or anything. And that's when
their mistake was not using a harder tuber. You know,
that's
if they'd gone for a nice, solid, like rutabaga,
radishes, throw radishes at them. You got a radish shooter, boo, boo, right? That can cause some damage. But you remember that, right? There was frontline reporting.
Yeah, there's some beats that could do some serious damage.
There was frontline reporting even 2 years ago that they had a shortage of arms and food in the front lines, that their men were starving a year into it. In that first winter, a year into it, they were starving. So if that was a year into it, and we were under Biden and the Europeans were all about this at that time, what makes him think that he can survive even another winter? I mean, we're just getting out of this winter.
He knows. They know the truth. I mean,
and Starmer said this is a coalition of the willing, and the U.S. Donald Trump is
not
unwilling.
Stupid. He's just an actor. So there's a difference. I mean, he
know,
knows the truth, but he's playing a role.
He's bought into his own bullshit, though. That's what I think. I think if you start, it's kind of like gonzo journalism, right? Where you're getting into this character, and you live that life. If you're writing about something seedy like the, I don't know, drug trade, and you become, entrenched with these drug traffickers, and before long, you yourself start thinking and acting like a drug trafficker. I think this guy is so into his mode.
He thinks he's gangster.
I think so. So
yeah, it could be.
I think this guy believes it.
So what do you think? I mean, so does it? I mean, so I think first of all, let's go through it. Like, let's handicap it. So he's going to have to play ball with Trump, because the United States, he has to.
Like
and
I said,
soon.
They're going to be the spring thaw is coming. Right? Like, we're 2 weeks away from the spring thaw.
Well, the spring thaw means fighting kind of gets hard.
Intensifies.
Well,
that's what it means.
No, because it's mud. It's mud.
It's muddy,
right?
but intensifies because it's not frozen, and the Russians have a clearer view of what's happening, and they obviously control the air, right? The Russians have air dominance.
The Russians do control the air, yeah.
So
I don't think I honestly, it's so funny the way that Americans project analyses of these things. Like in that article I was reading, Putin's going to want to take advantage. It's like, no, Putin wants this to be over. He's ready for it to be over. He
didn't want to go in there in the first place.
True.
It took him 10 years to finally make a move.
True.
That was the flack that.
But yeah,
roughly 8 years technically, but roughly 10 years when there was stuff brewing, right, on the eastern front in Donbass, and he'll
be happy when this is over. It's a waste of money. He catches flack internationally. But
Vladimir Putin was getting flack back
losing
home.
Losing Russian lives. It's like it'll be good when it's over. It'll be good when it's over.
8 years, 7 years, 6 years ago, for years, Vladimir Putin was catching flack from.
And by the way, what's the alternative
all parties?
For the people who are watching who are pro-Ukraine? Is there any world in which Ukraine is going to keep fighting and recapture a substantial amount of territory? Answer is niet. It's like
niet means niet.
Niet
and
is niet.
Ted,
no.
You're not going to repopulate your population fast enough. You're not making babies number one, making babies, period, but fast enough. They're not going to mature fast enough to be fighting age. So unless you plan on dragging this out for another full generation, it's over. you're going to be fighting with potatoes. Literally, you're going to be throwing like root vegetables at the Russians. Your tanks are going to be fired. The leopards that are getting blown up are going to be shooting rutabagas. It's just not going to work. Without U.S. support, you're donezo. And I think this guy needs to accept that. He needs to wave the white flag and save lives. That's the bottom line. Is it's gone on this long already, more than 1 million lives lost, and the majority of them being on the Ukrainian side, with a much smaller population as it is than Russia. I'm tired of seeing mothers crying. I'm tired of seeing like these videos of young college age boys being dragged out of pizza parlors to be fed into this war machine. It is awful. I mean, you have a son that age, Ted. I mean, when you see videos like that, that's got to hit close to home, right? Like where you're like, holy crap, if we were there, that could be happening to my kid. Mm-hmm. It's just terrible.
No, I mean, I do think about that. And, or just people getting hit in their apartment buildings in Russia and in Ukraine or whatever. There you are minding your business at home. Suddenly you blow up. By the way, I just want to say,
hanging out with Klovisky.
If the Ukrainians had tried taros early on in the war, that might have.
You think that is a hard vegetable until you really cook it?
Yeah,
hard root.
That probably would have been the way to go, or gingers, because they could burn your eyes. They're spicy.
It'd become a food fight. I'd be okay with a food fight.
Like, no. I don't want to waste food. I don't like to see that.
Yeah,
happen.
but I would so much be way more okay with a food fight and wasting food. As much as I don't like wasting food, I'd be more okay with that than what's happening here. It's so just this is literally Ted's.
We should talk about sanctions. So
the bloodiest war Ted since World War I.
Word is out that the Trump administration, the White House, has directed the Treasury Department and other departments of the government to start planning out the facilitation, the checklist of how to roll back all the anti-Russia sanctions that were imposed in the wake of the special military operation or invasion, depending on your point of view, and those two. And so it seems like that's likely to happen. I'd say it looks like Trump's approach is going to be to do this as a goodwill gesture. So, and I saw online,
it's a carrot for the Russians and a stick.
You signed a letter, right? That RT letter.
Of course. Yeah, of course. I mean, I'd been at this point with the company almost 10 years before we got the plug pulled on us by Biden, right? And I believed in my work, and I stand by my work after almost a decade with them. And I believe they're on the right side of history on their reporting. They've been honest and fair. And why wouldn't I want to put my name behind
I'm just hoping, right? Honestly, like my entire life, I grew up under the Cold War. I was 28 years old when the Soviet Union collapsed. And my entire childhood and adulthood, my entire life, one of the things I've wondered about is, why can't we go back to the alliance that we had with Russia during World War II to defeat the Nazis? I mean, there was no reason for us not to be friends. Harry Truman was a douche and he fucked it up. He did. I mean, Harry Truman was an idiot in a lot of ways. And he was a terrible president in many respects. He destroyed unionism in this country. He allowed McCarthyism to take hold.
Right.
And he started the Korean War. He was an asshole. And basically the Cold War is all on him. If FDR hadn't died, it wouldn't have happened. And so,
maybe.
It's in an era of globalization, it's great to have as many friends as you can, and the biggest friends are the best friends. Russia's a big friend. So, I think there's two things going on at the same time. There's trying to bring in the Russo-Ukrainian conflict in for a soft landing as much as possible at this stage, and to reestablish normalized ties and maybe improve ties with Russia beyond anything that we've had since the collapse of the Soviet Union, and really truly try to work together. I'm all for it. I think it's great.
I agree. Well, look, There's
While we're
still
at it,
people
China, we should have good relations with everybody.
with everybody. Like, make more friends. It's better to make more friends, right?
Yeah.
So,
and don't fuck with Canada. Stop that.
just there are neighbors. Like, come on, good neighbor.
There are nice neighbors to the north. We love them.
Come on, just
leave them alone.
Leave the Mexicans alone. Like, come on. Like, we like their avocados and Corona beer.
And the beaches are great.
The beaches are great. So one way to help make friends across the world and in here domestically in our own homeland, Ted, in the United States, is part of that being that the left, or excuse me, liberal media.
Thank you.
The liberal media, for example, the editor at Mother Jones, David Corn, who was a personal friend of mine, but we have since had a rift, obviously, with the whole Russia stuff. So I haven't talked to him in many years. But David Corn is still, just last night, tweeting about how Donald Trump is a Putin puppet, and this was the best investment. I'm not kidding you. Go to his Twitter.
Oh, I believe
it says, he's saying he's propagating Russiagate, Ted, that has been debunked 1,000 times. David Corn, if you're watching this, you have my number. You want to talk? Let's talk. Mother Jones, call me. You have my number, Dave. I mean, it's crazy. It's insanity that somebody at David Corn's level, he knows.
I'll call your David Corn and raise you by Bernie Sanders. Did you see what Bernie Sanders tweeted yesterday? I mean, he tweeted a 2-page PDF memo where he argued the same exact thing, that like Trump is Putin's bitch and is doing everything that Putin wants, and we're going to become Russia's ass boy. And it's like, this is like, okay, this is insane. It literally reads like something that Dick Cheney would have written.
This is they are antithetical to peace, and in David Corn's case,
not to mention it's ridiculously not true.
It's just not true. David Corn is supposed to be a journalist.
Russia's is not going to tell us what to do.
Stupid trope. That's what he's doing to his liberal readers, Ted. So that tells me that his liberal readers still believe this, and they're eating this shit up. Otherwise, he wouldn't be tweeting it. It's
really sad because Mother Jones used to be a very respectable.
I used to love Mother Jones. Yeah. I was thrilled when I made friends with David Corn.
But it's moved, like all of liberal media in the U.S., it has moved to the right. There's nothing left. I mean, at this point, like Jacobin is like basically like where the nation used to be. It's like, it's like it's not even hardcore left. Jacobin. It's basically liberal Democrat now.
Yes. And
old school liberal Democrat, like where Bernie used to be.
I agree. Everybody has lurched to the right. That used to be considered left, and so there's no one there.
There is no left at all.
David Corn is just
part of my
thing.
Part of the reason I was mad at all the idiot, liberals who did this stupid February 28th boycott because they don't like Trump, and then the consumer boycott. Don't buy anything last Friday. Well, I checked into it. How did that work out?
How did it?
Amazon was the number one target. Their sales increased by 1.1%.
Oh, no.
So, it failed dramatically. And it's because something as dramatic as a consumer boycott, ask the civil rights people who organized the Birmingham bus boycott, it requires grassroots, months, years of slogging, careful organizing on the left. Right?
When and why, Ted, did the liberals decide that this guy was the evil enemy? Like, since when did we go back to 1986? Like,
I don't know. I don't know if it was like, I think it's a systemic change. I'm not sure it was something that like, a master plot of your old buddy David Corn and like those people all got together to do this. Somehow it's almost like what I really think happened, and I'm not sure, but I think what happened here is that when the Republican Party was taken over by MAGA, and the populist MAGA movement and all the the Republican Party was a warmongering party, right, under Bush.
Right.
For sure. And it was like,
Cheney.
I mean, look at Bush. I mean, not only Afghanistan and Iraq, but he also, like, he overthrew the government of Kyrgyzstan. Who even remembers that, right? But he did. He was a busy boy, like little warmongering little shit.
Right.
Well, so when the Tea Party started, which is the precursor to MAGA, that was in 2009, 2010. And the Tea Party morphed into MAGA. But I would say the takeover of the Republican Party by the populist Pat Buchanan wing started about 15 years ago. And as that progressed, the space that opened up a vacuum for all the old warmongering shitheels who were all being financed by Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman and all that. And so the Democratic Party naturally gravitated to those donors and that funding and in the vacuum that was created. And they were recruited, I think, by the military-industrial complex to turn the Democratic Party into the big warmongering party. Not that the Republicans can't still do some warmongering, but between the two of them, they've switched places on foreign policy. So I think that's what's happened. It's been an evolution or a de-evolution over the last 15 years, and it's like the Republicans kind of like gave that up, and they decided to become like a nationalistic America First party, which didn't really work with like sending money overseas to fight other people's wars. So that's been backburnered, and so the Democrats took that over.
Remember 20 years ago?
Do you like my theory? I literally just came up with that on the fly.
I think that's a good analysis. I think also, I mean, I was a Ron Paul supporter. I discovered Ron Paul in college, right? And every chance I could back him anywhere I could, back when he was a congressman, when he was running for president, right? In the Republic, I couldn't vote because it was a closed primary in California, but he was a Republican. I was a Democrat, so I couldn't vote. But I had hoped he might get there. He resonated with me with his he basically came up with America First, but then everybody smeared him as an isolationist.
Pat Buchanan came up with that.
You think so?
Yeah, but Ron Paul was an economic libertarian first and foremost, right?
And that's what a lot of the
that naturally leads you to what some people would call isolationism, other people would call economic nationalism. It just it does naturally lead you there. So, I mean, Pat Buchanan was more into culture wars. Ron Paul was not.
Ron Paul's not. That's why I was more Ron Paul-ish, Ron Paulian, if you will, because I cared about rebuilding our country, having, minding our own business, foreign policy wise. Let's make friends with other people and keep our money invested in our people, in our borders. And he didn't care about culture war stuff. Back then it was gay marriage. He didn't care. Ron Paul just didn't care about that. He had his own personal views, of course. But, out there for the rest of the world, he just kind of didn't care. And that's kind of the way I am. I don't care. Don't care who you marry, as long as they're an adult, they're a consenting adult.
You have the Barry Goldwater point of view. Like where Barry Goldwater asked about gays in the military, said, I don't care if the guy in the foxhole next to me is gay, is straight. I care if he can shoot straight.
Yes.
Great quote.
That is absolutely. I don't care. I don't care if what you identify as. I don't care. I'll address you as the Pope. Although these days you probably don't want to be addressed as the Pope. He's in failing health. But I'll call you the Dalai Lama if it makes you happy. I don't care. What I care about is the health and well-being of our own population, because I believe you can only fix what's your own home, right? Like you can only deal with your own spouse, your own kids, your own whatever. Like you're the king of your little empire or queen within your four walls. And our US borders are all of our four walls. That's all of our homes. We should focus here. And any attention we pay out there should be in the way of, protecting our own homeland first and foremost, but not by peace through strength. Peace through strength is bullshit.
Yep.
It's
We should
shit.
move on. We have other topics
Yes.
to talk about.
All right, yeah. But
All right.
this is a good thing. No more arms to Ukraine. Hopefully it lasts.
Hopefully
and
it does
ends the war.
last. And I mean, like, this was a waste of money and time.
Totally.
All right. China and Canada have imposed tariffs against American goods, retaliating swiftly against the Trump administration's decision to place new levies on imports from those countries in an escalating trade war that has rattled global markets and international relations. The Trump administration also raised tariffs against Mexico. Mexico has announced that they will respond and retaliate later today. China's finance ministry announced a 15% tariff on chicken, wheat, corn, and cotton from the U.S., 10% on imports of sorghum, soybeans, pork, beef, aquatic products. I guess that means like pool liners and
What, like aquatic?
aquatic products.
What is that? Really?
I don't know.
I mean, what are aquatic?
Boats, fruits, vegetables, and
Maybe.
dairy products. Maybe whales. You know, when we send whales. Canada imposed 25% tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods at 12 o'clock midnight Eastern time, but didn't say which products would be affected. Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister, said that the tariffs would extend to another $125 billion worth of American goods going to Canada within 21 days. The administration's latest tariffs, 10% on imports from China, 25% on most stuff from Canada and Mexico, is supposed to encourage some manufacturers to set up factories here in the U.S. instead of elsewhere. But it could also strain supply chains, add costs, of course, and it could test diplomatic ties. So, yeah, I mean, obviously we're now in the middle of a trade war. The question is, how long does it last?
I don't have too much to say on this because I haven't read enough about how applicable this theory is of Trump's saying that the tariffs will actually help
Dow
grow
Jones
our
Industrial
economy.
Average is down nearly 2% in heavy trading right now.
Well, I just personally feel like the first thing that's going to happen is the companies that incur the tariffs are going to pass the buck on to us. And the consumer is going to have to pay that difference.
They're going to pass part of it.
Sure.
That's what happens when
Dollar Tree's not a dollar anymore.
When manufacturers are forced to, absorb additional costs, they try to keep their prices as low as possible because they're afraid of losing market share to their competitors. So they absorb part of it and then they pass part of it on.
But
that's what happens.
But we're still ultimately going to get some, just like I said.
Yeah.
Like Dollar Tree. I love Dollar Tree. I think most of America loves Dollar Tree or the 99-cent store that we have in California.
Or the dollar store.
Although
the dollar store is an
not a
indicator
dollar
of poverty, right? Like they very carefully check the demographics and economic picture in every town that they go. And if it's basically, if it's economically healthy and unemployment is low, and then the dollar store doesn't open there.
Yeah, the Dollar Tree is like 2 miles from my house, right? So that tells you.
It's like how Waffle House is an indication of whether you're in the South or not.
That's true. Dollar Tree, same thing. I live in a working class neighborhood, like this is just working people, middle class, working class people. So Dollar Tree is popular here. And I, first of all, hate that you can't call yourself Dollar Tree if you're a $1.25 tree.
I agree with that. All right. For more than half a century, the midlife crisis marked by peak misery between the ages of 40 and 50, I'm looking at you, Manila Chan, has been a defining feature of Western society. Are you miserable? Are you suffering peak misery?
No. That was the old school.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Well, that's all changed. However, according to the experts, the pattern is rapidly changing. A new paper commissioned by the UN and authored by academics John Twenge and David Blanchflower.
No, Jean. It's a girl.
Oh, Jean. Well, Jean can be a dude, too. Jean Twenge.
I know.
And David Blanchflower warned that a growing youth mental health crisis across 6 English-speaking nations is reshaping the traditional trajectory of happiness. Historically, happiness was believed to follow a U-shaped curve, with carefree youth, challenging middle age, and a more contented later life. However, well-being experts now suggest that life satisfaction is rising steadily with age instead of dipping in midlife. Survey responses from the US, the UK, Ireland, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand, all English-speaking countries. Researchers found that life satisfaction and happiness among young people have declined over the past decade, particularly among young women. So one key factor, the rise of smartphones and social media. Researchers observe that the decline in happiness aligns with the more internet that you use. In other words, the more you use the internet, the more miserable you are, with similar patterns appearing not only in the 6 English-speaking nations, but also in other countries as well. Other studies have linked the youth mental health crisis to broader social issues like intergenerational inequality, unregulated social media, insecure employment, and the climate. Additionally, an increased number of young people are being pushed out of the job market due to mental health conditions, further exacerbating concerns about their long-term well-being. I mean, this is a serious matter, Manila.
Mm-hmm. No, okay. So right now I am squarely in the middle age, right? As the demographers are referring, right? And I'm also a woman. I'm a middle-aged woman and also a mom. So in the old days, you remember that old show 30 something?
Of course.
And it was like, the anguish of being not young anymore, and that's all out the window now, right? The hot new thing, and it's not just about looks or like how you present or how hip you are or whatever. The women in my age group or actually are Gen X are right now middle aged, right? We have somehow managed to be happier than the Gen Zers who are coming out of university.
They are miserable. Yeah.
They're miserable. They're straddled. They're just strapped with debt, right? They come out $200K in debt because of university costs. They're never going to be able to buy a home. Everything that we were talking about with producer Robbie before the show, that the carefree days of youth that you and I might remember, Ted, that we talked about not that long ago, a couple weeks ago on the show, right? A carefree youth of riding your bikes around, playing on the playground, riding down that hot steel or aluminum slide, right? Like burning your ass going down the slide at the playground at the park. Those days for kids are gone. The innocence has been robbed from them to begin with because of screen time and social media and keeping up with the Joneses and FOMO. So like the innocence that you and I remember about youth and childhood is non-existent anymore. You have 10 and 12-year-olds right now, 6th graders, 7th, 8th graders, caring about skincare and what they might look like when they're 30. Oh my God, 30. These kids are worried about anti-aging in middle school, Ted. This is no joke. Bulimia is on the rise. So all these kids are growing up looking at the screen with self-esteem issues, and it's going to carry over into a young adulthood when they're straddled with debt when they come out of university. So of course they're going to be completely freaking miserable. The innocence has been robbed from them. And I'm not sure if it's, necessarily the parents' fault, but it's a culture shift that we haven't been able to put the reins on since the advent of social media. And I do not like being on the socials.
Yeah, it depresses me.
Yeah. And so that's why our generation is happier.
And at some point,
Gen X, we're the angst generation. How can we be happier than?
Well, I know that's so true, but that's
because how is it possible?
Well, because we're getting older and we're getting past a lot of the crap from being young, and also we're realistic. We don't expect anything to get better, whereas they're optimists.
There's no entitlement.
They're children of boomers. And so they were always told everything was going to be awesome. But we always knew that our lives were always going to suck, and we've accepted
We didn't all get trophies, Ted. They taught us very young.
No, they were mean to us. It was not a good time to be kids. I mean, the thing is, the internet is a mean fucking place. And I mean,
yes,
it is, and it's like across the board. I don't care what you're doing. If you're in a discussion group about knitting, people, they're like foul to each other. You fucking idiot, asshole, douchebag. I mean, anything. People are just, I don't know what it is. It's like something about the safety of being behind your screen in your underwear in your mom's basement or what it is. But people are total cocks on the internet.
Oh,
And
sure.
like, I mean, just look at like YouTube comment sections, look at Reddit, look at like anything, right? Just like Twitter, just like the things that people say. And I realized this like 25 years ago when social media was in its infancy. And I would go to a cartoon convention and run into someone who 2 days before had just something about like, I want Ted Rall to die, and I would love it if his entrails were draped across. And then I'd see the guy, and the guy like, he'd slink off, like,
hey, what's up,
and he's like just a putz, and he'd be like,
Right.
it'd be like, oh, like where's Mr. Brave, social media warrior now? It's like the point is, it's like it's toxic. It is a toxic form. I really wish Marshall McLuhan was here to help us with what it is about this format that causes people to behave this way. But they do. And it's just like, it's so like incredible.
Well, Ted, don't you think this then plays into the idea, there's Clovis, don't you think this plays into the idea that perhaps there should be age restrictions on social media? Because look, you and I mean, we're middle-aged people. We can handle looking at the shit comments. I mean, granted, there are adults our age that this really impacts their mental health, right? But generally speaking, older adults, especially middle-aged people, you've been through enough shit in your life that you can deal with it. When you're on social media and someone talks shit to you, you can deal with it and you're like, whatever, and you get on with your day, right? The younger people are not emotionally equipped to deal with any kind of blowback or this intense amount of nonstop beratement or harassment or shit talking by others, right? It's like we're social animals. And if kids of this younger generation, their social circles are all online, I think it's detrimental to their health. And that's not to say kids shouldn't play with, like some games. Like my kid does that stuff and he watches like kid videos on YouTube or whatever, but I'm keeping him as innocent as possible. Like instead of, I'm watching Tom and Jerry on the TV, right? Or Captain Kangaroo, right? But now those things are on your iPad. That's all. They're not, I mean, it's not Captain Kangaroo, but you remember that. You guys remember that show, right?
I remember Captain Kangaroo. Yeah.
So I was watching that on TV. Now it's on their iPads. Fine. That's the only difference. The social media stuff, I think that's where it gets toxic. And I think that's why these young people, now there are actual, academic studies about this, that young people are unhappy. And
not a surprise.
Depression rates,
The
Ted,
question is,
drugs,
what are we going to do about it? And I mean, look, the thing is,
legal and non-legal.
I don't think that age limits on social media will work unless we were not able. Let's say, for example, you couldn't log into a computer without putting in having an ID that's attached to your age. Like, let's say, sort of like, how like people who are convicted of drunk driving, they can't start their car unless they blow into a device in their car. So like, what if you had like a cartridge or something that goes into your computer that proves that you're over 18 or 16 or whatever we want to say it is? Then, I mean, I don't know that internet anonymity is a good idea. It really encourages sock puppetry and all sorts of, I mean, I understand the advantages of privacy, right? Like if you're, whatever, we haven't had our kinks show yet, but, if you don't want everyone to know about your, opossum kink, okay, maybe I could see why you don't, it's useful not to, but I do think it would be, if you're going to have that kind of age limit, it has to be really strictly enforced. It has to be on all devices. It just sounds like something Americans aren't going to be into. And not to mention, a lot of parents let these devices babysit their kids. I mean, my ex-wife did that. She gave our kid. I was absolutely horrified. Like, here, have a device. Look at this. Look at my phone.
I'm not against it.
I am.
So long as it's.
And by the way, all the Silicon Valley people, famously, right? Like Zuck,
right.
They all don't let their kids use these devices. Jobs. They send their kids to Montessori schools. They're little right-wing conservatives when it comes to their own kids, while they're fucking up the entire world,
the whole world
of everybody else. Yeah.
With their fucking devices.
With their fucking devices. Yeah.
I like I always say, and I'm going to stand by this. I wish an analog childhood, like in the what I remember in the 1980s.
Maybe in Papua New Guinea you can have that. Yeah.
I wish that for everybody, because for me, I remember childhood being exactly what childhood should be. Carefree, riding bikes with your friends. The only way that your parents could tell you to come home was the streetlights come on. And you're just riding bikes around, out in nature, running around to the parks, running around on the school field, playing soccer, just innocent and carefree. And those days are gone. And sure, it sounds like some, middle-aged old lady going, wow, I miss the 1980s. But now the studies are showing that we have a better mental health status because Gen X is the last generation that remembers childhood like that. Mm-hmm. The ones that fought, like maybe some millennials, like the what do they call them? Geriatric millennials.
Yeah, not
few
really.
Of them,
they don't really.
Yeah, but not really. They're basically native. They're native.
I mean, look, I had first access to a computer when I was 15. I mean, and I'm old, so yeah.
I didn't have
Commodore
internet.
64, I think it was.
1997, maybe 98.
No, I mean there were computers in my school in 1978.
No, I know that we had that too, but I'm saying in my home.
Right.
And they were unaffordable.
I mean, the thing is, the millennials always think they're the first internet generation. It's like, well, they're the first to have grown up with it from day one, right. But they're not. But it's like, you know what? We got it really. We were very young when it came along. Right.
So I think the studies will prove out.
I should
later.
say computers, not internet.
Computers, not internet. But they're native.
Although we had primal internet in the late 80s.
But not.
Remember
not
Pine
the way it is
and all that stuff?
I vaguely remember. I remember when Google launched. It was like an academic
system where you could sound. It was really cool. You could sound like an email in like
an email, yeah.
To up to the other side of the world for free. At a time when international communications cost a fortune.
Well, what's his face, Doctor what's his face that says he invented email?
Oh, right.
We had him on the show.
Oh yeah. It's like, well, maybe.
Brain farts.
Yeah,
like maybe.
I thought that was Al Gore. Anyway, let's keep going. The ideal worker at the Chinese chemical manufacturer, according to an internal memo, is hardworking, virtuous, and loyal, and most important, willing to have kids for China. That was the message that the company Shandong Shuntian Chemical Group sent to unmarried employees recently in a notice that ended up going viral on social. It instructed them to start getting kids by September 30th, or else. If you cannot get married and start a family within 3 quarters, the company will terminate your labor contract. I'll also say insane memo said. Shandong Shuntian was not the first company to try to dictate its employees' personal and sex lives amid rising concern about China's plummeting marriage and birth rates, a problem that we have here as well, by the way. Weeks earlier, a popular supermarket chain told its staff not to ask for wedding gifts in order to lower the cost of weddings. By the way, that's something we see in other countries as well. Both orders were widely criticized for many of the same reasons that people are not having kids in the first place. Besides the economic cost of kids, young Chinese people say they want personal freedom. They reject the idea that their family should tell them what to do, and they're certainly not going to let their bosses tell them what to do. Last year, 6.1 million Chinese couples got married. That's a 20% decline from a year earlier. I mean, that's a radical fall in 1 year, and the fewest since the government began releasing statistics in 1986. The population of China has fallen for 3 years. The authorities have been trying to reverse those trends. Officials go to visit women at their homes to say, like, hey, are you planning to get pregnant? I don't know if they send any dudes to help them get pregnant. They publish propaganda saying that pregnancy can make women smarter. And called.
I argue just the opposite.
As a non-woman, I can't talk about that. And called for creating a fertility-friendly social atmosphere, including in workplaces. I don't know, sex at work. Some companies seem eager to comply. The notice from the chemical company was directed at unmarried employees between the ages of 28 and 58, including divorced workers. So you're 57 years old, and you're divorced, but you better get knocked up quickly. Not responding to the call of the country, not marrying and having children is disloyal, the memo said. As online ridicule grew, the company backtracked. Reached by phone, a woman at HQ said that the notice had been retracted. The local government had ordered the company to undergo, this is so Chinese, rectification. She, I don't know, no word on whether the CEO was sent to a May 4th farm for re-education. She refused to answer further questions. Local labor officials could not be reached for comment, and I would say wisely so. Look, I mean, obviously, I don't think that's the appropriate role, but China is a very different culture. The social pressure is a huge part of Chinese culture, much more so, even more so than here, and much more so than here. And social pressure is very powerful. And, and basically, this is kind of like, say what you want about the Chinese, but when they put their minds to something, they're like, okay, we're all in.
Having grown up in dual culture, right? Both East Asian culture and American, I can tell you that social pressure is real, and we've talked about this, but I cannot imagine my fucking boss telling me, "Hey, Manila, you're getting long in the tooth. You gotta find a husband right now.
Start popping them out."
Like that. I don't know that that's going to play well across, independent-minded modern Chinese women who tend to be well-educated, well-heeled. They're traveling outside the country. They're exploring Europe. They're exploring the United States. And then they come back home, and then to have your government and then your employer tell you, I just don't think that's going to play well. And given that there is, a gender imbalance, presuming there's only 2 genders in China, Ted.
I think, well, that's a good question. I don't know what the official policy is on trans stuff there.
I don't know either. So
I'm looking that up right now.
So
I'm guessing they're probably, it's a very small C conservative country. So I'm going to say no trans stuff is allowed.
I'm going to posit that there's 2.
There are 2. That is correct.
Okay. Mm-hmm. It's not like the U.S. So I think they want to keep it that way. And I think they want to keep up traditional marriage.
There's 112 boys born for every 100 women.
Yeah. So
the global average is 105 or 106 males to 100 females.
Really? Mm-hmm. Well, you and I have sons, Ted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank God I abort. Every time we got pregnant with a girl, we were like, abort that. 15 times later, we finally got the boy. Just kidding.
Finally got that son.
Totally joking.
Finally got that son. Well, look, I think nature has provided a means for why there's slightly more boys in the world than girls, because statistically, boys die younger, men die sooner, earlier.
Yeah, they get into more accidents. They work more dangerous jobs. They get into fights.
Dumb shit.
They do really dumb shit, like they go to war
and die. Yeah, you do dumb shit like
nothing's dumber than that.
Like trying to like jump between buildings or
like
skateboard parkour. Yeah, exactly. Boys tend to do stupid shit. So the numbers eventually, the birth rate between boys and girls,
they ride motorcycles and
it doesn't matter, right? The birth rate doesn't matter. Let's talk about the survival rate when you hit 30. Let's see what that number looks like.
It's like savings. It doesn't matter how much you make. It depends on how much you keep.
Yeah. So I think this is not a great way to do it. If anything, if you're trying to encourage more marriages for your working population in China, maybe look outside of your borders and make the immigration process easier in China.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, that's true. I mean, not that many people really. Yeah, getting into China is hard. Getting a work permit is really hard. Yeah, that's true.
What I'm saying. If you ease up on that and maybe encourage international dating, and I'm not saying come to the U.S. and find a husband or a wife. I'm saying, in your neighboring countries, you've got tons of eligible ladies in Laos, in Thailand, in Korea, and you you can make do with other Eastern Asian people, right? And it'll kind of help
What
you.
about like just
with your
getting
goals.
promiscuous people to go move to
God.
China?
Just dragging we're calling all hoes, boys and girls,
exactly.
men and women,
Skanks, sluts,
all
hoe bags.
Bring all the hoes, men and women, bring them here. I don't know. I just think there is a way to promote this without threatening your workers. Like, you are going to get fired if you don't hurry up and find a spouse and get knocked up. I think that just doesn't play well in the modern age with so many educated Chinese women. I don't think that's
No, I mean, it's funny because social media is more controlled in China, but it's still a force, and that can't be completely controlled. And the Chinese government has to respond to it, because when they do stupid shit, this is what happens, and they get like ridiculed, and everyone makes fun of them. And that's
I'm telling you, Chinese government, listen to me.
All right.
Encourage international dating and ease up on your immigration policies, and encourage foreign workers to come in. And some of those people inevitably have yellow fever and they're going to want to shack up. Just saying.
That's reasonable.
It's true.
All right. And finally, we all make mistakes, but rarely do they involve moving funds that dwarf the GDP of every nation on Earth. Citigroup accidentally credited one of their clients' accounts with $81 trillion when it was supposed to just send $280. I guess this is like one of those things where, you have like your coffee cup sits. Have you ever had this happen? It must have, where it sits on like the corner of the keyboard, and it goes, and then it's like you look down and it added all these like digits. So I imagine that's what happened here. The latest mistake in a bank that's struggling to repair its rep after a lot of mistakes, the massive transfer, which occurred last April and far exceeds the entire market capitalization of Citigroup, was initially missed by 2 employees and caught 90 minutes after it was posted. That, according to the Financial Times. Well, it was only supposed to be $280. No funds actually left.
But it was
the bank.
missed by two employees. Two sets of eyes looked at this. Were they blind employees? Does it say?
They might have been. Like, one of them probably handles my account. Anyway, the no funds actually left the bank, and Citibank told the Federal Reserve and the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, calling it a near miss. It was the latest in a series of glitches at Citi. In 2022, an employee caused a crash in Europe by accidentally adding a zero to a trade, igniting a sell-off that at one point erased 300 billion euros from European stocks. Idiots. Last year, British regulators fined Citi 62 million pounds sterling for that incident. In 2020,
What's
Citigroup...
sterling?
It's just like, a fancy way of saying a pound. In 2020, Citigroup accidentally wired $900 million to a group of lenders who were locked in a bitter fight with Revlon. I remember this. That year, regulators also fined Citibank $400 million, saying that the bank had failed to address risk issues in its risk management system. Hard to argue with that. Problems with tech and internal systems contributed to the departure of Michael Corbat as CEO in 2021. Jane Fraser, who came in next, said that improving risk and controls is a priority, but regulators nevertheless fined Citibank $136 million last year for not making any progress in fixing their data management problems. Citibank said in a statement that its systems prevented the transfer from actually being made. Despite the fact that a payment of this size could not actually have been executed, our detective controls promptly identified the inputting error between 2 Citi ledger accounts, and we reversed the entry, the company said. So, I mean, first of all, you shouldn't be able, there should be certain limits, right? Like automatically, I used to work at a bank and I used to deal with stuff like this. And we dealt with big transfers. But, there should be a trigger mechanism. Let's say like $1 million. Anything over $1 million has to be checked by 4 or 5 people or whatever. I mean, if I send a transfer that is in excess of like what I would normally send, I'll get a call from my banker and say like, just checking, you requested this, but we want to make sure you're really, you really want this. Or,
well, if what disturbs me is there's two sets of humans, two totally different human beings looked at this.
Well, or didn't, more accurately.
Right. It passed their desk.
They obviously did not check it.
It passed their desk. I mean, two desks. It passed two desks before it made its way to this dude's account. And the fact that it was $280 is 3 digits. 81 trillion. How many zeros is that even? I don't even know.
That's 12 zeros.
So 3 digits versus 12 zeros and then some random digits in the front.
Mm-hmm.
How? Like that, I think, oh my God. I know no money changed hands and none of, officially, right? But imagine if you're that guy for just one brief second and you get because I get notifications on my phone, right? Like when transactions are made or whatever from the bank. Like, it's usually like, okay, my Walmart receipt shows up, right? Like, and I'm like, oh yes, I did buy that. Yes, I did. But the bank tells you whatever's happening on your app and it shows up on your phone. Can you imagine what went through the guy's mind that was like, what? I have how much?
Like, just run to the bank right away.
Right now. And it's a funny story, but I think that goes to show more that a lot of these banks are using terrible, terrible technology. And I hate to bring this up, Ted, but Doge has brought this up about the U.S. government, which is true, like the FAA, for example, right? And like in those control towers at the airports, like it's outdated technology.
Oh, the technology is very old, for sure.
I can tell you, the federal government,
ironically, I'm not sure that Doge is going to make that any better, because cutting the budget of an agency. I mean, why do they have shitty tech? It's because they don't have the budget to buy good tech.
Tech is expensive, man. So Citibank,
it's not like not like the money was sitting around and they forgot to order it. Right?
Forgot to get new software. But same thing here with Citi. I feel like maybe you should take a look at how you're spending that money instead of giving all these big bonuses to your president, the board and all this shit. Maybe take a look at like the inner workings, because they have narrowly missed crashing their own stock easily 4 times in the past 10 years. They've just, it's not good. It's not good. So but would have been a funny story if the dude saw it and was able to, if they didn't catch it sooner, if the dude cashed out, like, let's say $1 million was made available, let's just say, because that's what happens, right, at banks when you get a large like you're depositing a large check, right? They make 5% of that check available immediately, and the rest needs to clear, right? Theoretically, if the dude was cashing just like 1% of that, I mean, that would have made for a really good story. But this is more of a want on Citibank and not so much a fun story for the dude.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is very, very funny. And as a former banker, I can sort of see how this would happen, although frankly, not really.
Yeah, that many zeros.
No, I mean, it's absurd. I mean, I got to say, this would not have happened in the old days of typed ledgers. It just couldn't have.
Dumb employees. I just can't believe that. But anyway, that was a fun story.
I'm going to say this is a system failure also. I mean, honestly, you should not be able to send, the field should not allow you to send anything worth that many zeros,
I agree. Outdated tech. And I did look into this a little bit, like before we got on air. And it's really the same problem like the FAA is having, that Citibank has bad tech and they just haven't really upgraded. So it doesn't have those flagging systems. So I think this is more of a want story for Citibank. And I wish it was more of a fun story to the dude, because I wish he was able to like cash out a little bit, just a little victory for the everyday guy, right? He's expecting $280, and let's say he was able to cash out on 28,000. That would have been freaking awesome, and the bank should have ate that. I would have loved it more if the bank ate $28,000 when it was supposed to be 280. That would have been.
That is hilarious. Yeah.
He should have eaten it. So that's
Agreed.
that. All right. One more day of some Manila, and then it'll be the TRI show.
TRI, yeah.
Ted Robbie information. The
Only
Try
temporarily.
Show. At least, well, until next week. I'm back next Wednesday. So you'll see me tomorrow, Wednesday, and then I'll be back the following Wednesday from Iceland. Yeah? Dude, what's their accent? I need to figure that out. I don't know yet. I can't. They seem very friendly, though. I've had to deal with some,
Were they nice?
Stuff. Yeah, very, very nice. And, I was reading about their crime rates, Ted. They had all of 2 murders last year.
And they must have been really very angry.
But to be fair, they only have a population of about 360,000 people, which is less than Washington, D.C.
Oh, a lot less than. What's the population of Washington?
Oh, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Washington.
I assumed it was 1 million people at least.
I don't know how they count that. If they count people that like workers like me that go into the city, and
no,
I don't know.
It's only residents.
Like actual residents. Okay. Well, Iceland has fewer people than Washington.
679,000 people in DC.
So half that population is in this vast expanse of Iceland. 2 murders, and I just learned that the cops there, it's about 1,000 humans to 1 cop. So there's only like 630-ish.
Because police are not humans. Very important to point that out.
Well, yes, but the civilian population to cop is like 1,000 to 1. And the cops don't carry weapons at all.
Well, you don't generally need them. So, yeah. American cops carry too many weapons.
Well, that part is true for sure. But no weapons, like not even a nightstick or a billy club, like
or a rutabaga or a turnip.
Something. What if a polar bear comes after you?
Oh my God, if the Ukrainians
like,
had turnips. Well, you throw it. First of all, I don't think polar bears live in Iceland, so you don't have to worry about that.
It's in the Arctic Circle. I mean, shouldn't there be some kind of deadly animals there?
Well, let's see. I got to look that up too. Iceland might have bears. Let's see.
But no one has weapons.
Polar bears are not native, but they do occasionally visit. They are considered vagrants when they appear in Iceland. Like vagrants.
So their homeless population consists of polar bears?
You'll see them pushing their cart full of seal meat.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, I can't wait to share my social experience there. But so far, they've been very helpful because I've traveling with the whole family.
So I'm looking up the most dangerous animals. So it says Iceland doesn't have any native dangerous animals. However, some animals can be a nuisance, and these would include mink.
A mink?
Mink, yeah, they can harm local bird life and steal chickens. So Manila, leave your chickens at home. And most deadly, the Arctic tern. These birds
I don't even know what that is. It's a bird?
Can swoop. It's a bird. It can swoop, dive, scream even, peck, and send droppings flying during nesting season. So they're like shit throwers.
What the
Other dangers include falling into cracks on glaciers, getting stuck inside unstable ice caves.
That's real.
And burning yourself on hot springs.
Oh, well, yeah, I thought about that because Robbie, our producer, right? He talked
and there
about
are orcas.
People burn themselves.
There are many, many orcas there.
Yeah, but maybe the orcas there are much happier than the orcas in the southern hemisphere because those are the ones that are attacking everyone.
No, that's northern hemisphere. Spain is northern hemisphere.
Oh no, I thought the orcas were attacking people like in South America.
Nah, it's in Spain and Portugal.
Oh.
They're going after the Iberians.
Oh. Well, I understand. There's reason to be mad.
There's a word you don't get to use very often on political
The Iberians
radio.
And the Rock of Gibraltar, they're all pissed around that area.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, it's on like whatever. I don't know why they say Donkey Kong, but it is on like however Donkey Kong is.
Yeah.
With the orcas.
Well, okay.
Right.
So let's leave that right there. A bunch of weird random topics that are, I think, hot topics that.
Do we have a guest tomorrow? I don't remember.
I don't know. We gotta figure out what the hot topics are. We got to see how the
Well,
news breaks. And see if we get
if Trump says anything interesting tonight, we'll talk about it
tonight. That's going to be the thing. That's going to be, it'll be.
Oh,
it'll be
he's not going to prepare a speech. He's just.
You know what I heard?
Run off at the mouth as usual.
You know what I'm hearing, and totally unconfirmed. It's, for all I know, it's just speculation, but from the circles I run in, Trump might be dropping a huge bomb tonight, and some of those people I know are saying it could or could not be the U.S. abandoning NATO.
Ooh. Well, that would be great news, actually.
I agree. But NATO... he tweeted, no, he didn't tweet. He truthed. He truthed that he's going to be dropping a big bomb tonight. Metaphorically.
Not like in his toilet.
Metaphorically, not a big like Moab.
or not like a big brown baby.
No, metaphorically, not a burrito baby. No, metaphorically, he's going to be dropping a big bomb tonight. And some people I know have said they think it could be the announcement that we're dumping NATO.
Okay,
that could be amazing. So let's see what the show looks like tonight. So, all right, guys, that does it. Thanks for staying with us this past hour and a half. Goodness. Make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe button, that thumbs up like this. I don't have a good hitchhiker thumb, Ted. It doesn't really bend. Oh, yours is straight too. Hit that thumbs up and show some support for the show. We'll be back again tomorrow. And then after that, it's the boys. It's the cis white male straight male show. For
Indeed. 2 days. Well, wait, not tomorrow.
No, after tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Adios, amigos. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.